FIFA and FC have had many overpowered players in its history. It doesn't matter the year, it doesn't matter the game mode, there's always one or even a handful of absolutely ridiculous cards that push their way through the game cycle and rise to the top to become some of the most memorable players in the game's history, which, believe me, is not always a good thing.
Well, he's got support here, and shoots! He's too quick for the opposition. They knew about him, but they couldn't stop him. Anthony Martial.
Now, some of you might have an opinion about what the best card in FIFA is. It may even be your favorite card. It could be Wellington, Nilmar, Butland, Griezmann, Ibarbo, Kent, Doumbia, Benzema, Duncan, Wout, Weghorst. I mean, you get the idea. However, I have to tell you all, you're wrong. It's not any of those guys. It's not Acuna, it's not Havertz, it's definitely not Moharami. Who the hell even is this dude? Instead, it's someone that can even put my boy Eramenko on lockdown, and that is FIFA 17 Chris Smalling.
I'm Chris Smalling.
Now, Chris Smalling, or Smaldini as he is famously known as, is a pretty old school defender in that he can't really dribble or pass or really do anything on the ball, but if you need him to man mark someone, if you need him to just defend, he is your man. And so because of that, throughout his career, while he was never a world-class center back, he still had some pretty damn good seasons. He helped Roma win the Conference League just a few years ago, and he even helped United win a few trophies as well, like the Europa League and the League Cup in 2017, and the FA Cup a year prior, and that's where I want to start. During the 2015-16 season, he was a key player for both club and country, playing 55 matches for United and 5 matches for England before going to the Euros, meaning he played 5,472 minutes in one season, more than any other player at the Euros, where he then went on to start every match in that competition. I already said that he won the FA Cup with United that season, but he also helped United finish with the least amount of goals conceded in the entire Premier League. What is Southampton doing in 6th? That actually makes me uncomfortable a little bit. The point is, Chris Smalling had a great season, and it was rewarded in FIFA 17 because despite never starting a FIFA game with an overall higher than 79, he started FIFA 17 with an 84 overall, tied for the highest ever rating at the start of a FIFA game. And so obviously that is a very big upgrade from one year to the next. However, if you look more closely at the specific upgrades, you'll notice one thing. His pace got a +1 upgrade, his defending got a +1 upgrade, but his physical got a +8 upgrade, with his strength specifically going up 11 whole points from 77 to 88. But what was most vital, at least in my opinion, was this thing right here. His work rates. Before they were removed in FC 25, work rates would determine how often or how quickly someone would make forward runs or track back on defense. In FIFA 17, Smalling had his work rates improved from medium-medium to medium-high. Now, you may have thought that work rates didn't really matter that much, or that a defender having medium-medium was not really that big of a deal, but let me tell you something. Work rates can make or break a card. For some, it didn't really matter how good the card actually was because their work rates would ruin their positioning, like this motherfucker right here. Player of the month, Son. Now hang on a second, alright? Shut up. Just shut up for a second, okay? Because believe me, I know how good he was, alright? I have nightmares playing against him. I know how good he was for the rest of you, but was he ever that good for me? No. I tried using him in every midfield and attacking position possible. Hell, I tried him at left back. I tried using every chem style ever made. I tried every player instruction known to man. And yet, this little cockhead would never be in the right position. You want to know why? Because of his high work rates. So believe me when I say, work rates are everything. You, son. So anyways, the fact that Smalling went from medium-medium to medium-high was actually something that made his card even better, along with the fact that his card was just so damn good. Now, FIFA 17 was a time before every single card needed 90 plus stats or 5-star in order to be playable, so for center backs, only 3 face stats mattered: pace, defending, and physical. The combination of 77 pace, 84 defending, and 84 physical is pretty good, but the details were even better. We already mentioned his 88 strength, but his pace split was great as well because his acceleration and sprint speed were about equal. It wasn't drastically different, like with Sule, for example. And so, when you combine all of those stats together, 77 pace, 84 defending, 88 strength, 6'4 medium-high work rates, it turns out no other gold card in the game had those stats. In fact, when you expand that search, only Vieira is comparable. And then when you add the fact that Shadow Chem Styles increased acceleration by 15 and sprint speed by 10 back in these games, he'd have 89 pace, 99 marking, 99 stand tackle, 98 slide tackle, and 88 strength. Now I know this sounds pretty mid in today's game when you have cards like this by December, but to start the game with a card like this back then was utterly insane, so it makes sense why he was virtually endgame until his own upgraded futties card came out. Now those are just his stats and how he played in-game. Obviously that is the most important thing to a player, but he can't really do everything, especially if there's other bums around him. Part of what made him so special is the links that he had to other overpowered players. Now at the time, he played in the Premier League, which was and still is a goldmine for FIFA players because it usually has the best cards, and of course he's English as well, so the soft links, or orange links, were easy to come by. There was also a solid hyperlink, which is the same club and country, with Wayne Rooney, who had a few decent cards throughout the year and made a case for being in the squad. But it was his strong links that helped complete the team. You had Jack Butland, arguably the most overpowered keeper across any FIFA, who was English and in the Premier League at the time, giving him a strong link to Smalling. Bailly had just transferred to United that season and was given a ridiculous upgrade from 71 overall to 82, giving Smalling a partner in crime. Valencia was also at United at that time, and not only had a solid starter card, but also a team of the season, meaning the right flank would be covered pretty easily. But if you wanted to go full Brexit, you could even go with Kyle Walker instead, who also had a team of the season. Not to mention you had Pogba, who was one of the best midfielders in the game that year and who had also just transferred to United. But lastly, if you had the coins for second in for Martial, you could move him to center mid or to defensive mid to link with Smalling. So not only was Smalling overpowered, but the teammates and the links at his disposal were something that I have never really seen from a non-icon or non-hero before. So all in all, you had an affordable endgame meta card that was able to link with other meta cards in FIFA 17 and whose stats and attributes fit perfectly to the meta of FIFA 17 itself. Everything about his card was perfect from start to finish. However, there's still one thing that he still has to overcome: nostalgia. Now, we all fondly remember a lot of these cards, not only because they were genuinely good, but because they came at a time when we were living a carefree life. Coming home from school, no homework, no responsibilities, just playing FIFA. And for Smalling specifically, it came at a time when, at least in my opinion, the gameplay was near its peak, and when FIFA started to go downhill, making FIFA 17 the last good FIFA. So it's only fair that I ask myself this question: was Chris Smalling actually this good, or am I just blinded by nostalgia? Yeah, no. Hell no. You want to know the difference between God and Chris Smalling? God doesn't dare compare himself to this man. In a year where cards would start seeing massive overall and stat boosts, he stayed on top. In a year that saw the introduction of Foot Champs and its amazing rewards, both weekly and monthly, he stayed on top. In a year that saw the introduction of SBCs, he stayed on top. And in a year that had insane options in almost every single league imaginable, he still stayed on top. Now, we've said before that there are a lot of overpowered attackers throughout the years, and they are rightfully called overpowered. Martial, Morales, Mayuka, Wellington, Nilmar, Kent, Czech, these are all fantastic players, but there are so many to choose from, and while that doesn't diminish how good they are, it does diminish how unique they are. Defenders, on the other hand, are only considered overpowered when there's something absolutely absurd about them. Vanya Milinkovic-Savic, for example, was 6'8" and absolutely insane both in the midfield and as a center back. Marvell Wynn as well was ridiculous because he had 96 pace as a center back. So it's extremely rare to have an average looking defender be so good, to the point that the only other card I can name who's similar to Smalling is Kapembe, who, to be fair, did last a pretty long time but was eventually phased out during FUT Birthday. That's still very respectable, but when a gold defender is basically endgame, only getting replaced by a higher rated version of themselves, that is an entirely new level. He was as good as Team of the Years, he was as good as Icons, he was competing for pro FIFA players, he was affordable, and in a turning point for the franchise where cards would start becoming higher and higher rated, leaving these lower rated cards behind, this 84 rated gold card lasted the entire game cycle. I think that for all of these reasons, FIFA 17 Chris Smalling is not only the best defender in FIFA history, but the best player in FIFA history. F*** you, son.